I'm just going to talk about the first 4 seasons of 30 Rock, and that's James's meal for today. Nothing too special. I'm going to read you a poem right off the hop, and then mostly James going to talk for this dinner. So here's my poem. I wrote several today, actually. I got a lot done today. I don't know if you'll be able to hear me past that window because it's really whipping. So this poem is called Collier House Scillas.
It's okay if I put this in, right?
Sure.
The plant's long dead.
It's long dead. It didn't make it over the winter. I tried to keep it in, it didn't work out. So scillas are a kind of plant that they're just little. They're tiny little things like about the same size as great hyacinth, and they come out this time of year. And so here's my poem. There are scillas in bloom near the Collier House. They're the first little flowers I've noticed this spring. I was out on a walk with a little brown mouse I'd just caught, then went out to relocate the thing. I'm sure glad that I caught that small field mouse today, since he helped me to notice those flowers in bloom. If I hadn't just caught him, I'd just planned to stay there in bed with TV and relaxed in my room. That mouse helped me get out and see beauty today. Not just scillas, but daffodils opening soon. In a yard along Gyro, I passed on my way to see James. He'd not known of the state of the moon, the eclipse. That, while walking, I happened to see. I was by City Hall and encountered a crowd who shared glasses around, and they shared them with me. Boy, am I ever thankful that person allowed me to borrow his glasses to stare at the sun. I'm so thankful for so many things seen today. Who'd have thought that one mouse would have led me to fun? Now my house is more fun with that mouse far away.
Hopefully he's having fun.
I hope he is. He's having a lot more fun than he would have had he stayed in my house. Because eventually he would have found the traps. And not the birdseed bag trap that was just accidental. He made it himself. So, but it's a lucky thing he did, because Elvis was telling me, something's up, Pauline, and so he kept telling me, and I'm like, what? And I keep looking to where Elvis is showing me, and I'm not seeing anything, but then I heard the little mouse was stuck in the bag.
He was rustling around it.
He was trying to jump, but he couldn't jump high enough because it was a tall bag. Yeah, so silly little guy.
He learned his lessons.
Yeah.
He was hungry.
So recently, I was reviewing Larry Sanders, the Larry Sanders Show, and as I recall, it didn't last as many seasons as this one did.
30 Rock's all over and done with this.
It looks like.
Too bad.
It is too bad, because it's a good show. But so was the Larry Sanders Show. I don't know. But anyway, it's funny because while I was watching Larry Sanders, I thought to myself, and I think I said it to James, well, this is where they got the idea for 30 Rock from. You know, I hadn't realized it because I hadn't watched the Larry Sanders Show before. But they even have Rip Torn in this show as well. They had him in Larry Sanders Show. And at one point, they make a kind of joke. They, you know, they haven't said it outright or anything like that. But at one point, I think it was Donaghy said, I can't remember if it was him for sure, but somebody said, "Hey now," which was one of the guy's catchphrases on, yeah. So they know that they're, you know, they just tweaked the idea and made it their own. Like, instead of with Larry Sanders, it's a spoof on it. It's kind of like a joke behind the scenes, featuring the cast, you know, that make late night, one of those, what do you call those shows? Those talk shows, I guess. Like the Tonight Show or whatever,
with
right?
Johnny Carson, later Jay Leno.
Yeah. So In that one, they were spoofing those.
Kimmel or whatever his name is.
Whatever, I have no idea.
Dennis Miller had one.
Because
for,
I'm not a night person. I'm a morning person. I'm up in the morning, so I have no idea what goes on at night for the most part.
Boy,
Somebody's really rocking out. I can't see him, but he must be right here. Oh, now he's quiet.
He got scared.
Yeah, because two people looking. It's funny how they don't. One set of eyes is okay, but you get two and no, don't like it. So anyway,
let's try it again. Finally quieted up a bit.
I don't know where he is. Anyway.
I can't see him.
Oh, I see him! Right there! Right there.
We've gone low. There we go.
There we
hey,
go.
buddy.
Really happy little bird.
It sounded way up there.
Yeah, I know. I thought it was up too, but it's not. It's not up very high at all. Anyway, so 30 Rock, with this one, you've probably seen 30 Rock, but with this show, they're spoofing, like they're, it's more of a Saturday Night Live kind of behind the scenes, right? So,
and that's what they know.
That's
most
what they
of them came from.
Yeah.
I think Alec Baldwin holds the record for most appearances, guest appearances.
Oh, really?
On Saturday Night Live. It's not really part of that group. Tina Fey was part of that group, I'm pretty sure.
So, yeah, I really find Tina Fey funny. I like her writing. But anyway, I like both shows. And I noticed that I haven't seen any of the episodes in season 4. So for some reason, I don't know what I was doing, outliving, I suppose. I missed season 4, and I don't know if I've seen any of the seasons that are later. We'll find out. So I'll review them later. But I had already seen seasons 1 to 3, through 3, and they were still great to watch again. So if you haven't seen 30 Rock, you can pick up the complete series, which is 7 seasons. Quite a hefty 16 disc. I mean, this will take me a little bit more time to go through, especially since I want to be out hiking now. I mean, the weather's good, so I don't know how much of this I'll get done, because this is just something to keep me company while I'm in, you know. But
not really kill the time, because
no,
you're actually working on
I do stuff. I mean, yeah, I don't like TV to kill the time. I don't like
That's
that.
awful.
It's not good for that.
Don't do that, folks.
I like TV
do
for
something.
fall asleep.
Yeah.
That works out pretty well for me.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah. And I like TV for writing poetry or
Painting.
You know, something to have in the background. Or cooking.
Yeah.
TV for cooking. Or cleaning.
I'd probably like that for doing research, but I've only got the radio, and I can't stand the radio unless it's music.
Yeah,
like
it's terrible.
CBC News, I can't stand.
It's way better to have something that's going to give you a few laughs along the way. Well, yeah, you're...
Oh, I have laughs when I'm listening to the news, but it's very bitter laughter. You know, they're going, well, how did this happen? I'm going, I've been predicting it for decades.
Anyway, so now James is going to talk more about the vernal equinox.
But you're going to talk about seeing the eclipse a little bit.
Well, I mentioned it in
that's enough for
my poem.
Okay,
yeah,
So Pauline drew an outline, a profile of the eclipse that she saw. She's estimating it might be 50%, might have been that. Now I'm going to get her to testify here. Do you have any clue eclipse was happening if no one had told you?
No.
None at all.
It was bright as normal day. I didn't notice any difference. But then I walked by and people had these special glasses and they were talking about it. They were talking about the eclipse, and I was like, too bad I don't have special glasses. And then I thought, wait, they all have the same kind of glasses. I bet they got them in City Hall. So I went in City Hall and they were like, no, somebody just brought in a bunch for people, and so no, we don't have them. And I went back out and one guy said, do you want to borrow my glasses? I'm like, yes. So I was very thankful. because I got to see what is always a letdown, honestly. Well, not always. When we saw the eclipse the last time, when it was a good one.
It was a pretty good one. It wasn't a total eclipse.
No.
By any means.
No, the sky didn't turn dark or anything,
97%.
but it was very cool because you saw the leaf, there were like a million eclipses all over the ground
coming through.
Yeah, coming through the leaves. It was great.
Not sunspots, but sun winks or whatever.
It was wonderful.
Coming through.
It was like magic.
Each one was a little eclipse.
Yeah.
Eclipse sun.
Like a whole bunch of them, and just thousands all over. You walk down the street where the elm trees are, and it was just like eclipses all over the ground.
But people might have seen something like that in ancient times before people were able to predict them. Yeah. The first eclipse they think ever was predicted was done by a guy called Thales, 585 BC. That's late. Okay. They would claim that Egyptian history would have existed almost 2,500 years before then. That's longer between now going back to the time of Christ. Yeah? So they're a little bit wrong, off by that date, but maybe 200 years or whatever. So the point still holds. Now, so there was all sorts of, well, not all sorts, but there were civilizations occurring. At least two of them three before 2000 BC. That includes the Indian civilization. And I'm talking about the South Asian civilization. And they weren't able to predict these sorts of things. So here's an expert. This is on the internet, okay? It's in a book. I got it out of the University of Lethbridge Library. And the expert says, in order for ancient people, in other words, people who weren't able to predict a solar eclipse to be observed would have to be 100%. 100%. So we've got a guy called Bryce, forget his first name, who has tried to identify an eclipse coming through the southern part of Turkey. And understand, the solar eclipse kind of covers less, if I'm not mistaken, less in the width of my little finger here, coming across here. A lunar eclipse, so long as it's nighttime, you can see around, like pretty well around the world, or half the world, or whatever. But a solar eclipse, you have to be in the shadow here, where the sun is blocked out. Okay? I'll let you absorb that. So, remember what I said. I'm quoting, not verbatim, but the content of what this expert on eclipse says. Was said in this book that I consulted. In order for people before 585 BC, anywhere in the world, in order for them to be able to see an eclipse, it has to be 100%. And the tracks, the solar tracks, they might go this long or something like that. And they start out narrow, get a little bit wider, and then narrow off, and away they're gone. Okay? That's the way it goes. And they last for, a very long one would be 6 or 7 minutes. A good, healthy one would be like 2 minutes. That's it. And it blinks out. Okay? The total part of it. The totality, that's the term that they use. So Bryce, who seems to be something of a, not a self-appointed expert, but he's got a book published this millennium on Hittite history. The Hittites were located in the, kind of like in the middle part of Turkey. They messed around, almost surely around Troy, which is located where Europe comes very close to, just right here to Europe. strategic. That's why the Greeks were fighting there. If there was such a person as Helen who got stolen away by a Trojan prince, that would have just been a pretext. The Greeks were wanting to control this passageway into the Black Sea. Okay, that's why they were laying siege to Troy. So yeah, the Hittites were messing around there. They called the place Walusa, so that's their version of Ilios, which is another name for Troy. Look it up if you don't believe me. It's good that you're skeptical. Don't be cynical. Well, be cynical if you want. I don't care. But it's not going to help you out. And so I hope you can see that. Might be holding this a little bit high. So Bryce identifies, his dating system, the thing that he's going for the Hittites, using for the Hittites, is based on the Egyptian dating system. You see, the Hittites, by times in the Egyptian New Kingdom era, would come down here and start messing around in what the Egyptians thought of as an empire in Asia. And by times the Egyptians probably made it up this far, doing raiding and all this sort of stuff, right? But the Hittites, would make it down maybe as far as Damascus or whatever. Damascus I'm giving a rough approximation of the pronunciation. Nowadays that's Arabic for Damascus, but that's not the original name for Damascus. Understand, Arabic is not native to Iraq, it's not native to Syria, not the native language, not of Lebanon, not of Jordan, not of the Gaza Strip, not of Israel, so-called Palestine, not of Egypt, not of Libya, not of Algeria, not of Tunisia, not of Morocco, not of Sudan. It's official languages now, but you see, the Arabs were phenomenal, nor in Yemen, down here. You'd call the original language there Sabian. And you can be skeptical or cynical. If you're cynical, I don't care. Be skeptical, check it up. You know what I'm saying? Not the original language. The original language of Egypt would be when the Arabs stomped in there, and they really stomped in there. In here, all over the place. And, it's kind of like Coptic, which is, that's how they deciphered Egyptian hieroglyphs. They use Coptic. It's not a living language anymore. It's used for liturgical script. Okay? And so Bryce is very happy to identify an eclipse located in the 10th year of a guy called Mercilus or Mercillus, I'm not sure where the accent comes, a king of the Hittites. And it's an eclipse. It's got to be 100%. But Bryce is very proud. This is in this century. I believe it's 44.7 eclipse. It's below 50%. They wouldn't have a clue that eclipse happened. Okay? Wouldn't have had a clue. Whereas, if you listen to Isaac Newton and then do a few changes, because Isaac Newton said there were 400 too many years. In Egyptian chronology, it's more like 480. And if you use the Assyrians, so the Assyrians are located in the northern part of present-day Iraq. If you use their data, the annals of Shalmaneser III, he comes stomping into this area around here, around Aleppo. That existed back then. The Assyrians called it Halman. And that was their attempt at something like Aleppo. When you're dealing with languages, like the cuneiform script, which the Assyrians used, you're going to get all sorts of weird mispronunciations and misspellings and whatever. They called it Halman. Or I believe sometimes they call it Halab, which is closer to Aleppo. But there we go, Halman. And that's an attempt at rendering. It's not another name. They stomped into that area, and I dated that already the 9th year of Mercilus II. Keep in mind, I'm saying the 10th year is when the eclipse occurred. That he records an eclipse. And, so Shalmaneser III stomped in there 857 or 859 BC. His first 858 BC rather. His first full year. He stomped in there. His second year, he comes to the edge of the Euphrates. Euphrates comes here, and he doesn't cross over. Now, what the Hittite annals say, now this is supposed to be 500 years before, but it's not. Carbon 14 readings say King Tut, stuff from his tomb, dates to between 890 to 850 BC, not 1350 BC. Get that straight. Let's get scientific here. Let's get down to the brass tacks. Okay? I'm yelling because I'm mad. They've known about this, the stuff from King Tut's tomb, since the 1960s. The British Museum and the big museum in Philadelphia. They promised to publish the results, and they submarined the results. How did we find out? A whistleblower. And the whistleblower should have got a pat on the back, got a kick on the butt out the door, got fired for telling the truth, exposing the truth. Now, I'm yelling, I'm mad, because that was basically 2 generations ago, and no one's done anything about it. And I am trying to rectify that. So 857 BC, what happens? You see, the Hittites say they dealt with Assyrians in this area. That would be the 9th year of Merciless II. The 10th year, his annals say the Assyrians were coming, were supposed to come, and they didn't. And that's because Shalmaneser III stopped short at the Euphrates. The Euphrates bulges way out here and comes almost to the Mediterranean. And then it ducks back into Asia. So Shalmaneser III, we know, he came to the banks of the Euphrates. He almost got trapped the year before. He was just a young pup, his first year. And my reading of it is the Hittites came down here to the edge of the Euphrates, cut off his means of retreat, and he was not a good strategian at that point in time, but apparently a good tactician, because he captured the king of Babylon on his way back out. And I am telling you, the 10th year is the last year. Basically, I think it might go up to 12 years, but it's the last time the Hittites, under Merciless, are boasting about their activities. And I am telling you, 20 years later, Shalmaneser III, he'd learned a lot. He'd done a lot of fighting. He wasn't a nice guy. He made it all the way to the center part of Turkey, and he captured Merciless and his son with his own hands. He doesn't call them Hatti. He doesn't call them Hittites. He calls them Tabal. It's a different name. When they're dealing with Israel, the Assyrians called it. That's the northern 10 tribes of Israel. Less than 10 tribes, strictly speaking. They call it Bit Omri. They don't call it Israel. That means the house of Omri. Just because there's a different name doesn't mean it's a different entity. People will call countries whatever they want. Okay? So 857 BC, what happens? Is there a 44.7 eclipse stomping through the southern part of Turkey? It has to be the exact date. I've got 858, and then 857 follows. I'm on a schedule. The people, they've got a high, low, medium chronology for Egypt. It's all wishy-washy. They have no clue. They're all high, high, high. High on themselves. High as kites when it comes to the chronology. Whereas I am on a strict schedule. That eclipse has to be 1 year after Shalmaneser comes into here and stomps into what's now Syria. It has to be there. And there it is. 100%. It ain't 44 point whatever percent. You hearing that, Bryce? You big expert. What university are you working out of? Do some research. Before you do stupid stuff, saying stupid stuff about eclipses, find out about them. The folks there in Turkey would not have been able to see a less than 50% eclipse. They wouldn't have even been able to see a 95% eclipse. I'm yelling because I'm mad. You get paid by the public or you're at some private university. You're an idiot. Who are you, you stupid idiot? You get published. Who published you? I'm going to check it out. You guys are drooling fools. This is this millennium. Isaac Newton died almost 300 years ago, and he said there were 400 too many years in Egyptian chronology. The radiocarbon readings, we've known about them for Egypt. They're off by roughly 500 years. We've known that since the middle 50s. That's more than 2 generations. Get scientific. Get serious. You're getting paid fantastic sums to do stupid science fair level work. I'm mad. So I was going to talk about the Exodus. I don't know how much time is left. I don't know if I can even see, but I am mad. How much time is left? Is it even going? Okay. So, got to compose myself. We've been talking about what might have happened at the Exodus, right? So there's a woman working at Columbia University. I've never been in contact with her. Her research is independent of mine. She says that she's found evidence of a tidal wave on the coast of Madagascar caused by a comet or meteorite impact at roughly 30 degrees south and 60 degrees east. So this far away from Madagascar raised up a huge tidal wave. I think the tidal wave, she says, we'll say it was 100 feet, but I think it was, she's reporting 100 meters, 300 feet. That's significant wave. And the shells found in the deposits on Madagascar, they carbon-14 dated, radiocarbon dated to 2350 BC. But what you do is you take off. That's a calibration. That's not a raw reading. The calibration was done starting in the mid-1950s to please the Egyptologists. I don't believe in pleasing the Egyptologists. They've been pleasing themselves, maybe almost pleasuring themselves. They're such putzes. That's almost every one of them. The best ones would just avoid questions of chronology, but when you're dealing with history, what can you do? When you're dealing with archaeology, what can you do? You got a timeline. 2350. You take that off, and you got 1850 BC. Now understand, you see, her stuff was published around 2000. My brother tracked it down. He was telling me about it around 2010. I'd already come up with a date of 1850 for something that happened in Egypt, a huge disaster, something that happened in India, and I based it on dating from historical documents from the southern part of Iraq. 1850. The Mesopotamian chronology is off by a little bit, 150 years. They did it at the end of the 3rd dynasty.